What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Scale News Update. If you're not familiar with the show, this we talk about the news topics that happened in the scale world of RC over the past week. If you enjoy the Scale News Update, even in its new, unfinished location, hit the like button and let's jump into this week's topics. First for this week, Kyosho had the full release of the new Torino on the Phaser Drift chassis. Now, initially when we saw the sneaks of this, kind of figured that it was just going to be a, hard-tired version of the Phaser, but it's not. It's all new underneath. A drift-specific chassis with a lot of adjustability and, importantly, those clipless body mounts that we talked about last week. Now, this chassis looks fairly adjustable. It's still what appears to be a budget level or entry level drift chassis. It doesn't look like the full carbon crazy adjustable ones that you see, the people that are serious into drift using. But this is a rear wheel drive with adjustable motor position, tons of steering angle, a lot of the things that you would expect out of a drift car out of the box. So this checks a lot of those boxes, and it's got that 86 body on top with the functioning pop-up headlights on a Lexan body. Not 100% sure what all is going into making that function, but there's got to be something going on up there. It does look like there's a lot of molded details in the front with the bumper and probably those pop-up headlights. So, and I think that is likely what integrates part of that clipless system in. They have one little photo on the website showing some of that clipless. There's a tongue portion up front, so it seems like you probably kind of put the body on from the front and then clip it down in the rear. Pretty, simple looking spring-loaded rear body catch. Again, it all looks pretty good, looks pretty clean. The chassis is adjustable wheelbase, adjustable offset, a lot of stuff into this thing. So it looks like they've set themselves up to offer a ton of different options down the road. And hopefully now we see this clipless system work its way through all of the Phaser line in the future. It's the one thing we've all been talking about with how good those releases are, but we're just coming a little short with that body mounting system. So very cool there. Looking forward to seeing what people see when they actually get those things in hand. This week, we saw an updated version of the Axial SCX24 Bronco. Now, the Bronco was the first Axial SCX24 that came with the hard body. So it's finally getting an update, which mainly just means the electronics change over. There's mixed messages on that. Some people like them, some people don't. I believe that the Bronco, when it was initially released, already came with like the better shocks and stuff. I think it might have been the first one to include those. So it already had that part. It'll just be the switch over with some of those electronics. And of course, we do have this new body color, this red with a white top, which looks pretty good. You still have the all white with the black top, and then you also have a new green version of these. Underneath, pretty much the same old SCX24 though. So depending on how interested you are in that scene, or if you've been thinking about picking up another Bronco, if you like the updated electronics or not, maybe you either pick up an old one or you get one of these new versions. They're available for order now at both Horizon and A-Main. I'll put links to those in the description below, as well as links to all of the stories that we talk about today. Next, Vanquish finally released the H10 Origin. This is what was for so long kind of being referred to as like a Ripper 2. It uses a lot of those same principles, being a all machined chassis and machined body panels. So underneath of this, while parts of it underneath of what you see from the outside, the chassis is similar to the H10 Optic, but there are a number of changes that were done to facilitate the body panel mounting and all of the different details that this thing includes. So these body panels, not cross-compatible with an Optic. They're only going to work on this chassis, very specific to the mounting ways that this was designed for. Now, the body itself, again, is all machined aluminum, very thin, very lightweight aluminum panels that come up with this whole look. Now, the body is multiple pieces. You've got individual front and rear fenders, individual door panels, hood and grille, all separate parts. And on the grille itself, you can see that it's got some LEDs. Those are a Q series chipset machined right into that grille so that you can get all of that brightness, but without having to worry about any of the clearances behind where that grille sits. Now, unlike the original Ripper, this thing comes as a complete kit. So everything you need minus tires and electronics. Tires is being left up to the purchaser's choice there, but underneath you will have machined axles, front and rear. The rear axle is bespoke to this kit. You can't buy it elsewhere. Same goes with the wheels. They're Battleborn X-Ray wheels, which have that old school slot mag style. So again, those are only being offered with the H10 Origin. Beyond that, you also have, machine servo mount, machine knuckles. Knuckles also bespoke to the kit. Little details like that throughout. It does run a standard VFD transmission that's like the Pro spec, which is the same spec it was used in the original VS410 Pro when the VFD was announced. So that includes machine motor plate, standoffs, all machined gears, machined bearing plates inside of that standard VFD case, giving you just all the upgrades in there to be totally sure on it. So you get all the good stuff throughout this. The shocks also upgraded, hard anodized bodies, machined shock caps and collars. It's just a full kit. It does include the H10 optic interior, so that interior does cross over. You also have a few other parts that are used across. So it's got the same rear fuel cell underneath the front part of the dash, which also carries underneath of the hood. That comes from the optic, as well as the front bumper, and then the side plates and skid plate for the bottom side. Those are all crossover. Beyond that, pretty much everything on here, pretty specific to this kit. Being that this kit comes with all of those machine parts, it of course is going to come with a hefty price tag. $34.99 is what you get with this. Now, the original Ripper was $1,900, but it didn't include anything underneath. It was just the chassis and body panels for the most part. But this one of course includes everything, making it a pretty even crossover between the two. These were released last Tuesday and they sold out in just a little over 24 hours, but that's just a first release. More of these will become available over time, but it might be some time before you see a second release of these pop up. It is stated as a 3-month lead time on these. You do get to choose the color you want for the cage, the body panels, the axles, and the wheels. So you can go find all of the details out on this at the link in the description below in case you're interested in that just high-end RC. Now on the opposite end of the spectrum, this is the Maverick DOHA. Now we talked about this last year, kind of just before the Christmas season, and it didn't make it out for a full release before that holiday time period, but we have seen them finally available here in the States. And this is a little RC car, everything you need included for 60 bucks. And they're pretty fun to drive. I actually got a chance to wheel one of these around. It's fully independent, but it comes with an aluminum chassis. Of course, it has the, kind of Ultra 4 style look to it. It's got LEDs. Again, it's just a lot of fun. And for 60 bucks, you can find them now at AMain in stock in a handful of different colors. If you're looking for something super cheap that you want to just bash around with, some friends, kids, whatever it is, these are definitely worth taking a look at. Also around Christmas last year, we talked about this Kaido House and Tamiya collaboration. This is a square body Chevy with the Tamiya livery on the side, blending the 1/10 and 1/64 worlds together. This thing looks fantastic, and now also available at AMain. I saw that they just picked this up. I haven't seen them picking up a lot of other 1/64 stuff in the past, so it is cool to see this hit their site. If you were thinking about adding one, just didn't have a real good reason, maybe just add it to cart for the next time you're shopping around, in case you want to pick it up for yourself. Speaking of AMain, while I was going through all their new products, I saw that they added a ton of OneRC kits and RTRs to their site. Now, OneRC has been around for quite some time, and they've got some really cool style, either sprint cars or modifieds, asphalt oval, like all kinds of different kits. Overall, they're just pretty cool. But why I thought that this may be an interesting topic is that I hadn't seen these available at AMain before, this brand at all. But OneRC also recently picked up a new employee who is Todd Hodge, who came from Horizon. He was in charge of, I believe, the Horizon Surface division for quite some time. I think he was at Horizon for like over 20 years and recently left, and now is finding himself at OneRC. I don't fully remember what his new title is at this new company, but pretty sure that it was toward the top of the ladder. maybe that has some influence with finding new ways for distribution on this. And if you've ever been interested in some little bit different 1/18 scale action, I think it's worth taking a closer look at. Also worth taking a closer look at is the channel membership. Segue, boom. Channel membership helps support the channel a little bit extra. You get behind the scenes videos, you get extra videos like After News Delight, which is an extension of the Scale News Update, where we go back through everything that we went here and talk a little bit more in depth, a little bit more candid, kind of fun. Also, you get stuff like me moving into this studio and transforming this place. I painted and moved everything in. It will get there. It's a little echoey right now, which is driving me a bit insane, but progress. So anyway, if you're interested in channel membership, all the information is available down in the description below. Much appreciated to all. And this Wednesday, come join us for live stream Takeover, my first live stream in the new space. Hopefully I get a little bit more sound editing done before then. But this Wednesday, John Schultz is gonna join us. He recently went over to HRP. It's been a long time since we had Schultz on. Seems like a great time to add it, but come check that out, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern this Wednesday. And if you work for an RC manufacturer and you'd like to see any of your products here on the Scale News Update, you can shoot me an email to news@harleydesigns.com. Include a photo, the description, and a link to your website where the product can be found, or information about when it will be available and where it can be found. Shoot that over and we'll see if we can get it on the Scale News Update. DSM OffRoad just dropped a number of new products specifically made for that JConcepts Anvil or the Proline Comp Wagon if being used on a Vanquish VRD chassis. This would of course work on the VRD Carbon or the VRD Stance, but you'll find some slider options, new inner fender wells, a number of different body mounting options as well. It's got a couple of bed designs there, and you can buy these as a pre-printed part done on some nice printers for a really reasonable cost. His 3D printed parts are definitely some of the most reasonable that I've seen. So, and also again, looks like pretty decent quality. So check that out. I'll put a link down below to where you can find all of those parts. Next, we have a new one from FTX. This is the Roughneck. Now, this is a, kind of an upgraded version of one of their chassis here. And it's kind of, there's a number of things that are slightly odd. It does come with a carbon fiber flat rail chassis, which is nice to see there. You've got upgraded axles under it. The body looks pretty decent, old school Chevy style. I like that, but it looked, something proportion wise looked a little bit off. Getting into the specs, I noticed that it does come with standard 1.9 wheels, but the tires are pretty short, just a little over 4.25 inches basically, which is part of it. And then also I noticed that it's a fairly short wheelbase, which is something that's odd to see on a rig that's being kind of positioned as the performance crawler that they're trying to place this. Not saying that it's a bad thing, it's actually different than a lot of the other options on the market. So maybe that's just a good area. It, a little bit more proportion to the body, kind of almost like more of a class 1 look to a performance crawler rather than the more standard, call it class 2 approach that you see the other platforms being positioned as. Somewhat interesting. It does come with a brushless system, which goes along with a lot of the other upgrades that they're showing. Now, FTX more commonly seen available overseas rather than in the US. I believe that UK, EU is more where you see this, the most often. But if you're interested in picking something like this up, or you're already familiar with the brand, where you like to get your replacements or parts in general for it, then maybe this is one that will interest you. Be interested to hear if you guys are somewhat interested in this like class 1 focused performance. I won't say focused, but you know what I mean. More class 1 than class 2 look. Is that something you'd be interested in when you're shopping for a performance truck like this? JConcepts dropped a new body this week. This time, no crawler body. It's a monster truck body, a Ford Raptor. Very clearly monster truck, but looks fantastic. JConcepts oftentimes hits these, like current, whatever is the one to go after in that monster truck arena, and they do pretty decent, and they do a great job with it. Obviously, it's a passion area for them, and gotta be one of the reasons that they do so well with it. If you're a monster truck guy, here's just another one to note. But speaking of monster truck bodies, this one I think is the most fun that I saw this week. This is the HackFaab Duug Bug. This is for the mini LMT, very short wheelbase version, but the bug body that goes on top, silly, but I just think it looks cool. I don't do a lot of monster trucks, but I don't know. I think this one just looks kind of fun, pretty inexpensive too. So HackFaab is not a company that I'm super familiar with, but looking through their products, I think that I have covered a few of them on the Scale News over the years. A lot of different mini platforms they look to do quite a bit of work with. They also have some pulling stuff on there, some drag racing things. So they kind of hit a lot of those different markets. If you're interested in this body, maybe check out what else they're carrying over there. This week, RC 4-wheel drive dropped 2 new TF2 kits. One full TF2 kit version comes with a licensed Toyota body on top, and underneath it appears to be like mainly unchanged, but some of like the updated parts that they've done here over the last however long, it does have their newer style shocks on them. The knuckles now have 2 bearings, it says. Nice addition there. Also a little bit of updates to like thread lengths, things like that on the axle housings. I think just a little bit beefier center section in general. Not sure what the gear strength or anything like that, if that's been changed, or if we've seen any improvements to the chassis portion itself. The TF2 is going on like 15 years old now or so, and underneath not a lot different than the initial version. So they're getting some life out of this one. Now, they dropped that full kit, and then they also dropped a builder's kit, the scale builder's kit, which is no body, no wheels, tires. So pretty standard as far as that goes. 2 options for that. The TF3 has not made a return though. They're leaving that one. They're not digging those plans back up anytime soon. At least it appears. Maybe they'll just go right to the TF4. And then a few new releases from Orlando. I've built one of their little cars before, and it was oh so painful. But now they have released the trailer, skeleton trailer, as well as the containers. These are 1/32 scale. So in the photo of the 20-foot container, you can see it fitting in basically the palm of this person's hand. And they're fully functioning double locking mechanisms with the swivels, the whole deal. I imagine that these things are also just a killer on the fingertips like the kits were, but they do look so cool. They've got a 20-foot container and then a 40-foot container. Those are the 2 standard size ocean containers that you normally see. And then that skeleton trailer is made to hold the containers. Now also, they have a semi-truck, tractor, whatever you want to call it. And it's also pretty cool in person. The functionality of it, especially with the trailers, makes it a pretty good time. I wouldn't mind having one if it was fully assembled and I didn't have to work on it. But these containers do look pretty cool. I kind of want some. I think it's just been long enough since I've built the truck that I wouldn't mind the punishment of trying to build one of these again. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting forgetful enough that it sounds like a good idea. But that's going to do it for this week's news topics. For this week's question, let's talk about just that last news story there. What is something that you had a bad experience with, and then enough time had passed where you're like, you know what, I should try that again? So many with body painting, like painting RC bodies, I should say. That was one for me. I mean, even like cage fabrication. My first times with that went so poorly, I almost never wanted to do it again. All kinds of different things in this hobby. I don't have to think about it very hard. Most things in this hobby I wasn't very good at the first time. I just had to do it like 1,000 more times. Body painting, I still haven't got there. I think I've done like 4 now. Drop yours down in the comments below. You know, I love reading those comments, my favorite part of the Scale News update. But that's gonna do it for this episode and the first video filmed in the new studio. Can't wait to get some character added in this room and hide this door. I could just paint the door, but that's not gonna be my method. Plenty more on that in the members videos if you'd like to look at that. Otherwise, hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe if you're not already. Channel membership, comment. All the YouTube stuff. I gotta get back in the swing of things now in the new studio. Everything's just a little different. It's like in little different places. And feels foreign. But with that, as always, thanks again for watching Scale News every Tuesday. We'll see you on the next one.